A recursive acronym is an acronym that refers to itself. The term was first used in print in 1979 in Douglas Hofstadter's book Gar Paragraph Del, Escher, Bach, An Eternal Golden Braid, in which Hofstadter invents the acronym GOD, meaning God over Djinn, to help explain infinite series, and describes it as a recursive acronym. Other references followed, however the concept was used as early as 1968 in John Brunner's science fiction novel Stand On Zanzibar. In the story, the acronym EPT later morphed into Eptification for particular task. Computer-related examples: in computing, an early tradition in the hacker community was to choose acronyms and abbreviations that referred humorously to themselves or to other abbreviations. Perhaps the earliest example in this context, from about 1977 or 1978, is Tint, an editor for Magic 6 written by Ted Anderson. This inspired the two MIT Lisp machine editors called EINE and ZWEI. These were followed by Richard Stallman's GNU. Many others also include negatives, such as denials that the thing defined is or resembles something else, to indicate that, despite the similarities, it was distinct from the program on which it was based. An earlier example appears in a 1976 textbook on data structures, in which the pseudo-language Sparks is used to define the algorithms discussed in the text. Sparks is claimed to be a non-acronymic name, but several cute ideas have been suggested as expansions of the name. One of the suggestions is smart programmers are required to know Sparks. Notable examples: Ace Ace code editor, Allegro Allegro low-level game routines, and X ANX is not XNA, AROS AROS research operating system, BAMF BAMF application matching framework, BOSH Bosch outer shell, Cave Cave automatic virtual environment, curl curl URL request library, EINE EINE is not Emacs, Fiji Fiji is just image.j, Fibmum Fibmum your basic monitor editor mechanism, GI-NARC GI-NARC is not a CAS, GNU GNU is not Unix, GPE GPE. Palm top environment, gRPC gRPC remote procedure calls, HIME HIME input method editor, INX INX is not XJACK Jack audio connection kit, KGS KGS Go server, Lame Lame an MP3 encoder, Lisa Lisa, invented stupid acronym, Livs Livs is a video editing system, Mega Mega encrypted global access, Mint Mint is not TRAC, Mint Mint is not TOS, Mung Mung until no good, Nano Nano's another editor, Nagios Nagios ain't gonna insist on sainthood, Nil Nil isn't Liero, Ninja IDE Ninja IDE is not just another IDE, Night Night isn't TECO either, Pack Pack, a compiler PHP PHP, hypertext preprocessor, Pine Pine is nearly Elm, originally. Pine now officially stands for Pine Internet News and Email, Pip Pip installs packages, PIPS. A PIPS is POSIX on Symbian, QINS QINS is not slow, RPM a PM package manager, SPARQL SPARQL protocol and a DF query language, TIXZ TIXZ ist kein Zeichen program, Tiara Tiara is a recursive acronym, TLP TLP is a linking program, TIP TIP isn't Pico, Tressa Tressa runs encryption securely outside RAM, UIRA UIRA isn't a recursive acronym, Wine Wine is not an emulator, XBMC XBMC Media Center, XINU XINU is not Unix, XNA XNAs. Not acronymed, YAML YAML ain't markup language, Zinf Zinf is not FreeAmp, ZWEI ZWEI was EINE initially. Mutually recursive or otherwise special, the GNU Herd project is named with a mutually recursive acronym. Herd stands for Herd of Unix replacing daemons, and Herd stands for Herd of interfaces representing depth. RPM, PHP, XBMC and YAML were originally conventional acronyms which were later redefined recursively. They are examples of, or may be referred to as, acronymization, where the official meaning of an acronym is changed. Djinn claims the distinction of being the first recursive anti-acronym. Djinn is not initials. It might, however, be more properly termed an anti-bacronym because the term Djinn never stood for anything in the first place. The more recent XNA, on the other hand, was deliberately designed that way. Most recursive acronyms are recursive on the first letter, which is therefore an arbitrary choice, often selected for reasons of humor, ease of pronunciation, or consistency with an earlier acronym that used the same letters for different words, such as PHP, PHP Hypertext Preprocessor, which was originally Personal Homepage. However, YOPY, your own personal YOPY, is recursive on the last letter. Organizations, some organizations have been named or renamed in this way: BWIA Euro BWIA West Indies Airways, FALE Eurofail Association of Loch Sport Enthusiasts, Farmer Euro Farm Animal Rights Movement, GES Euro GES Exposition Services, HART Euro HART the European Association for Research in Transportation, Link Euro Link Interchange Network, the UK ATM Switching Organisation. HALE Euro HALE Environmental Industries Limited, maker of garbage trucks, Saab Euro Saab Aeroplan Actor Ballagit. In popular culture, TTP, a technology project in the Dilbert comic strip. The initials stand for the TTP project. See also, acronyms, backronyms, RAS syndrome, self-reference. References, notes. Sources: this article is based in part on the jargon file, which is in the public domain. External links: the dictionary definition of recursive acronym at Wiktionary.